Okay, welcome everyone. Let's dive into something pretty profound today. We're pulling from the H7O Ministries daily devotional. It really got us thinking about, well, the sheer unsearchable wisdom and knowledge of God.
Hmm. Yes, that devotional sets things up beautifully. And our main focus is Romans 11.33. It's this incredible moment where Paul just seems overwhelmed, full of awe after laying out God's big plan.
Exactly. It's like this peak moment of worship after all that deep theology. He's wrestled with God's plan for Israel, for the Gentiles.
Right, all the complexities of election, rejection, restoration, and then boom, this outpouring.
So yeah, our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack that verse, to feel the weight of it and see what it's calling us to, the verse itself, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of God, how unsearchable are his judgments and how inscrutable his ways, just powerful.
It really is that opening. Oh, the depth.
Yeah.
It hits you immediately. This isn't shallow water we're talking about. It's presented as like an infinite ocean. God's nature, his ways, they're just inexhaustible.
And he mentions two things specifically, right? The depth of the riches of both his wisdom and his knowledge. What's the distinction there based on how the devotional unpacks it?
Well, knowledge is about knowing everything, all facts, past, present, future, every possibility. God has that perfectly. But wisdom is the perfect application of that knowledge, knowing the absolute best way to act, the perfect timing, the ultimate purpose. God has both, limitlessly.
Okay, infinite knowing and infinite perfect doing based on that knowing. But then Paul shifts slightly. He says God's judgments are unsearchable, his ways inscrutable. That sounds challenging for us.
It really does. Unsearchable, meaning we can't fully trace back
Yeah.
his reasons, his logic from our perspective.
Yeah.
And inscrutable, his paths, the way he moves in the world and in our lives. We often just can't figure them out. They're beyond our tracking.
And that's where it gets personal, doesn't it? Because, well, we want to understand. We crave the why, especially when things are hard or confusing.
Absolutely. We want the map, the blueprint. But this verse says, look, God's decisions, his methods, they operate on a level beyond our full comprehension. His wisdom isn't limited to what makes sense to us.
So if we can't fully grasp it, where does that leave us? Is it just frustration, or does the devotional point somewhere else?
No, definitely not frustration. It points towards trust, towards worship. The real challenge here is to worship before we understand everything. It's one thing to praise God when it all makes sense to us.
Yeah, when the dots connect easily.
Exactly. But true worship often means bowing before the God whose wisdom is so vast, whose plans are so intricate, that we can't connect all the dots from where we stand. It's about trusting that his perfect knowledge and perfect wisdom mean his ways, even the unsearchable and inscrutable ones, are still perfect, still good.
That really lands. Surrendering before comprehending. That's counterintuitive for us, I think. So how does the devotional suggest we, practically live this out? It's a big concept.
Well, one practical step is spending time with Romans 11 itself. Just seeing the big picture, Paul paints God working through surprising twists and turns in history that didn't make human sense at the time. That helps build a framework for trusting him in our own smaller, confusing situations. It reminds us, his knowledge is infinite, ours isn't. He's never caught off guard.
That makes sense. Looking at the larger story to gain perspective on our part in it. And didn't the devotional also suggest something like really tangible, something about writing things down?
Yes, exactly. It suggests taking an area of your life right now that feels genuinely confusing, maybe painful, where you honestly can't see God's hand or purpose, and then physically write it down and follow that with a conscious choice, an act of surrender. Maybe saying something like, God, your ways are perfect, even though I don't understand this right now.
Wow, that's actively choosing to trust his unsearchable wisdom over our limited viewpoint. It's an act of faith.
It is. Romans 11.33 isn't just abstract theology. It's really a call to a posture of humility, of awe, and deep trust. It assures us that the one who knows everything and acts with perfect wisdom is completely reliable, especially, maybe most especially, when we can't see the path ahead.
So wrapping this up, what's the core takeaway for you?
Yeah.
For all of us listening? I think it's that God's wisdom, his ways, they're incredibly deep, way beyond what we can fully figure out. And maybe that's okay.
It has to be okay. And more than okay, it's an invitation to stop striving to understand everything and instead step into deeper worship, deeper trust, finding peace not because we have all the answers, but because we know the one who does. And he's perfectly good, perfectly wise in every single inscrutable step he takes.
That's powerful. So here's something to chew on today. What does it actually look like in the nitty-gritty of your daily life to trust God's perfect ways when they make zero sense to your mind?
And we really want to give a heartfelt thanks to the H7O community. Sharing these devotionals, these insights is such a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're curious and want to learn more about the ministry or perhaps support the work they do, you can find everything at h7o.life. That's h7o.life. Okay, that's our deep dive for today. See you tomorrow. Blessing.